The deeper they went, the more the palace bled illusions. From one hall came the laughter of Kaelin's comrades long dead. From another, the smell of Leora's childhood home, the desert wind, her mother's perfume. Every corner was a test, every step a trap. And all the while, the palace seemed to pulse. The veins in the marble walls throbbed like arteries. Crimson light glimmered faintly, as though the entire structure was alive, feeding on them. At last, they reached the central stair. It spiraled downward into shadow, steps slick with a faint sheen of red. Irinder spoke, voice trembling with awe and terror. Below lies the chamber of the last crown. The emperor who bound the first dream was entombed there. His crown is the seal. His silence keeps the world breathing. And if the crown breaks? Leora asked. Then the dreamer wakes. They descended. The stair emptied into a vast chamber. Its ceiling was lost in shadow, its walls lined with statues of emperors, each kneeling, each crowned. But their faces were cracked, some weeping stone tears. At the center lay a great sarcophagus, carved from black marble shot through with veins of gold. Upon it rested a crown simple, unadorned, yet it pulsed with a light that seemed both holy and cursed. Kaelin felt his knees weaken. His body ached to kneel. His hand yearned to lift the crown, to place it upon his head. The whispers flooded him. Yes, you are worthy. You will end the war. You will silence the world. Take it and rule. He staggered forward, trembling. Leora's dagger pressed against his chest. Her eyes blazed. Don't you dare. Kaelin blinked, sweat pouring down his brow. The voice receded, though not entirely. Irinder stepped forward, reverent. The last crown. The heart of the prison. If it falters, all is lost. But to restore it, he trailed off, staring. His face was pale, his lips trembling. Irinder. Kaelin's voice sharpened. The scholar's hands shook. It calls to me. Behind them, the ground shuddered. The gates above groaned. Far away, the roar of marble statues echoed. The emperor was coming. Veros raised his shield, teeth clenched. We don't have time for doubts. What do we do? The crown pulsed brighter, as if answering. And the chamber filled with a new voice, deep, resonant, older than the watchers themselves. The seal is not broken, yet. But one of you must wear it. One of you must bind the dream again. Forever. Silence fell like a blade. Kaelin's blood ran cold. One of them would not leave this chamber. The chamber pulsed like a living heart. The crown, plain yet terrible, throbbed with a crimson light upon the sarcophagus. Every beat shook the air, filling it with whispers. The watchers carved into the walls seemed to lean forward, their stone mouths parted as though awaiting judgment. Kaelin's sword weighed like lead at his side. He couldn't look away from the crown. His soul screamed to touch it, to claim it, to end everything. For a fleeting heartbeat, he imagined peace, armies laying down arms, kings kneeling, silence across the land. A world without conflict, a world under one rule. His. Don't, Leora hissed again, stepping between him and the sarcophagus. Her eyes shone like blades, her stance taut. She didn't trust him. Not anymore. Irinder's lips trembled as he recited words none of them wanted to hear. Only one soul may bear the weight. One life for the prison. Whoever wears the crown will never return. The silence that followed was crushing. Veros broke it, voice hoarse, but steady. Then it will be me. Kaelin spun toward him. No, Veros stood tall, though his arm hung useless. His armor was cracked, his face streaked with tears and dust. Yet there was no hesitation in his eyes. I've seen what this place does. I've nearly fallen already. My daughter, her face still haunts me. If my death means she sleeps in peace, then let it be mine. No, Kaelin barked, his voice sharp. We need you. You're our shield. But Irinder's hand rose, shaking. It should be me. My life is study. I have no family, no kingdom, no people waiting. The burden is knowledge, and I have spent mine for this very purpose. Leora snarled, her voice cracking with fury. Stop it. None of you choose. We fight our way out. We find another way. The crown pulsed brighter, as though laughing. The voice that had filled the chamber earlier returned, heavy and merciless. The prison demands its keeper. Without sacrifice, the dream wakes. The ground trembled. Dust cascaded from the ceiling. From above, the sound of collapsing marble roared closer, statues breaking their way down. Kalen's chest heaved. Rage, sorrow, and fear warred inside him. He had led them here. If anyone was to be sacrificed, shouldn't it be him? He stepped forward, but Leora's dagger lifted instantly, trembling against his chest. Her face was pale, but her eyes held iron. Don't you dare, Kalen. You're the reason we've made it this far. You're the only one stubborn enough to resist it. Kalen's jaw clenched. And what, you think you'd survive it? Her lips twisted into a bitter smile. Maybe not. But better me than any of you. The air thickened. Shadows along the walls deepened. The watchers shifted, their petrified eyes glowing faintly red. The crown pulsed faster, like a heartbeat accelerating. And then came the illusion. From the far side of the chamber, another figure stepped into the light. An emperor. Cloaked in flowing robes of gold, crowned with a twisted version of the marble circlet. His skin cracked with veins of stone, but his eyes were endless. He smiled as though welcoming children home. Why struggle? The figure asked, voice deep, soothing. The world begs for silence. Take the crown, and I will show you mercy. Take it and rule as my heir. Refuse. He lifted a hand. All the statues along the walls shuddered, their stone fingers twitching. And the watchers will wake. Kalen's stomach turned. He could feel the Emperor wasn't truly there, just another dream, another snare. But the threat was real. The palace itself groaned. Leora spat at the apparition. We don't bow to ghosts. The Emperor's smile widened. Then bow to eternity. The statues moved. One by one, they tore themselves free from the walls, kneeling emperors rising with crowns of broken stone. Their faces cracked open into hollow maws, their eyes burning with crimson fire. Veros roared, slamming his shield against the ground. The sound rang out like thunder, drawing their attention. Keep them back. Kalen, decide. Irinder clutched his staff, chanting frantically. Lines of ancient light seared into the floor, a barrier to slow the nearest statues. But sweat poured down his face. He couldn't hold it long. Kalen's sword rang as he drew it. We can fight, no. Leora snapped. She ducked under a statue's swing, her daggers flashing. Not forever. The crown pulsed again. Louder. Faster. Kalen's vision blurred. He saw not one future, but many, Irinder wearing the crown, his body dissolving into dust. Leora collapsing, her scream echoing. Veros's broken form kneeling eternally in silence. Even himself, seated on a throne of bone, eyes blank, mouth whispering endless lullabies to a world turned to stone. Choose. The word hammered his skull. Choose, or all is lost. The chamber erupted in chaos. Statues crashed against Veros's shield. Irinder's barrier cracked. Leora screamed, slashing desperately as stone claws ripped at her. Kalen staggered to the sarcophagus. The crown blazed before him, veins of crimson spreading across its surface. His hand hovered over it. The whispers rose into a deafening chorus. Take it. Bind me. Rule me. End the world's pain. His body trembled. Sweat poured down his face. And then he heard a voice, not from the crown, not from the Emperor, not from any watcher. A real voice. Leora's. Kalen, whatever happens, don't let it win. Promise me. His eyes burned. His heart cracked. The crown's light reached for him like fire. And Kalen closed his hand around it. The chamber exploded with blinding crimson light. The light was unbearable. Kalen's scream echoed in the chamber, his body writhing as the crown seared into his flesh. Crimson veins laced across his temples, pulsing like molten fire through his veins. He collapsed against the sarcophagus, clutching the crown with both hands, as though prying it from some invisible force that sought to weld it into his skull. The others shielded their eyes. Even the statues faltered, their crimson fires flickering as if startled. Leora forced herself forward, her daggers raised. Kalen, drop it. Drop it now. But Kalen's eyes snapped open, and they weren't his eyes anymore. Crimson light bled across his irises, glowing with unnatural fire. His voice came out hoarse, broken, layered with another tone, older and deeper. The prison opens. The Watchers stir. The crown chooses. Veros stumbled back, his shield lowering. Gods preserve us. Irinder gritted his teeth, forcing calm even as terror ran cold through his veins. It's begun. The bond is sealed. Kalen staggered to his feet. The crown shimmered upon his brow, though it looked too heavy for flesh and bone. His hands trembled as if torn between ripping it off and clutching it tighter. Inside his mind, 1,000 voices clawed for dominance. Whispers became screams. Memories not his own spilled into him, the rise of empires, the fall of cities, blood-soaking marble steps. He saw the first emperor kneeling before this very crown, saw him smile as stone devoured his soul. But deeper still, he felt something worse. Something alive. The crown wasn't just a prison. It was a mouth. And it was hungry. Around them, the statues roared. One lunged, swinging its jagged arm toward Leora. She ducked, her blades striking stone, sparks flying. Veros surged forward, shield crashing into another watcher, forcing it back with a grunt of pain. Kalen! Veros shouted through the chaos. Fight it! Don't let it take you. Kalen's sword hand trembled, then rose. He swung not at his allies, but at a watcher. The blade, bathed in crimson light, split the statue clean in two. The fire in its eyes sputtered and died. The others froze, stunned. Irinder gasped. He's wielding its power. Kalen's chest heaved. He turned, staring at them with those burning eyes. I can stop them, he rasped. I can stop all of them. But the crown, it won't let go. The Watchers surged again, an endless tide. The chamber shuddered, cracks spreading through the marble ceiling as dust rained down. Leora slashed another statue and spun toward Kalen, rage and fear colliding in her voice. Then we break it. Destroy the crown. Kalen's expression twisted. Destroy it? You don't understand. If it breaks, the prison breaks with it. The dream will wake. The ground shook violently as if to punctuate his words. Somewhere in the depths, a low rumble rose, the sound of something vast stirring. Irinder's chant faltered, his barrier collapsing. He staggered, nearly falling as two watchers surged through. Veros caught one with his shield, but the other swung down toward the scholar until Kalen's crimson blade cleaved through it. The crown burned brighter, feeding on the battle. Inside, Kalen felt the hunger grow. Each statue shattered was another vein of fire binding deeper into his flesh. He could feel his will slipping, his own thoughts drowned beneath whispers of conquest. He saw himself on a throne of marble, armies kneeling in silence, the world petrified and peaceful under his gaze. And part of him wanted it. Leora's hand caught his arm, snapping him back for a moment. Her eyes, desperate, fierce, locked on his. Kalen, look at me. You're still in there. Don't let it win. His breath came ragged. If I stop fighting, it'll consume me. Then fight harder, she shouted. Fight for us. The chamber roared with chaos. Statues swarmed. Dust poured from the collapsing ceiling. The Emperor's illusion flickered above, his voice echoing like laughter. You cannot win. There must always be a crown bearer. A prison cannot stand without chains. Kalen dropped to one knee, the crown burning into his skull. The whispers threatened to drown him entirely. He felt himself slipping, falling into the crown's abyss. And then he saw them. Not illusions. Not lies. His companions bloodied, desperate, but fighting. Leora slashing through stone. Veros roaring, holding back the tide with shattered armor. Irinder, trembling but unyielding, still muttering spells with lips cracked and bleeding. They were his anchor. With a scream, Kalen slammed his sword into the ground. Crimson light erupted, blasting outward in a wave. The statues froze, their crimson flames sputtering. For a moment, just a moment, the chamber fell silent. But silence did not mean safety. The crown's voice boomed inside his skull, furious now. You're mine. You cannot resist me. Your flesh is weak. Your soul is already stone. Kalen gritted his teeth, clutching the crown. Maybe, but my will is stronger. Leora rushed to him, kneeling. Kalen, tell me what to do. How do we help you? His eyes glowed brighter, blood trickling from his nose. There's only one way. Someone has to sever the bond. Irinder's face paled. No. That ritual, it would kill the crown bearer instantly. Leora's hands tightened around Kalen's shoulders. No, we are not doing this. Veros stumbled forward, his voice hoarse. If it's him or the world, don't you dare finish that sentence. Leora snapped, fury breaking through her fear. Kalen looked at them all. His friends. His family, forged in blood and stone. And he knew, whether or not they wanted to accept it, the crown's price could not be avoided. His voice was weak, but steady. If I fall, promise me you'll finish it. Promise me you'll lock the dream away, even if it costs everything. The ground thundered again. Cracks split open across the sarcophagus. A distant roar, deeper than mountains, echoed through the chamber. The dream was waking. The air was thick with dust and fire. Kalen knelt at the heart of the chamber, the crown burning like molten iron against his skull. The crimson light pulsing from it painted his face into something inhuman, half man, half vessel. Every breath came ragged, torn between defiance and surrender. The Watchers had stilled, their stone bodies locked mid-movement, their flames dimmed by Kalen's surge of will. Yet it was not victory, only a pause. The silence carried weight, the heavy kind that came before a storm. Leora gripped his shoulders, her daggers trembling in her hands. Stay with me, Kalen. Just hold on. But Kalen's eyes burned crimson, and when he spoke, his voice was not fully his own. The prison cracks. The dream tastes the air of your world again. A deafening rumble rolled through the chamber. Splinters of marble rained from the ceiling. The sarcophagus at the center of the hall split open, lines of crimson light cutting across its surface like veins. The sound of grinding stone echoed as the lid shifted, slow but certain. Irinder's heart froze. It's opening. Veros planted his shield, though the tremor in his hands betrayed him. Then we hold the line. No matter what comes out. But Kalen shook his head violently, sweat and blood streaking down his face. No, you can't fight it. You can't even see it. That's why the crown exists. Only the bearer can chain it. Leora's voice cracked. And chaining it means killing you. Kalen smiled, broken and tired. Somebody has to pay the price. The others recoiled at his words. Veros slammed his fist against his shield. No, I didn't march into this cursed tomb just to watch you throw your life away. Leora's fury blazed brighter than her fear. There has to be another way. A ritual, a counterspell, something. Irinder's lips quivered. There is another way. His voice was quiet, almost drowned out by the roar of stone splitting. But it is forbidden. The others turned to him. Irinder's hands shook as he pulled a cracked scroll from his satchel. There exists a binding, not to seal the dream back, but to pass its prison onto another. The crown's curse can be transferred. But it requires willing sacrifice. One must choose to become the vessel. Leora froze, staring at him. Then at Kalen. Then back at the crown. Her jaw tightened. No, Kalen's voice was sharp, almost panicked. No, Leora. Don't even think it. Her eyes burned with tears. Why not me? Why should you be the only one to suffer? Because it chose me. Kalen roared, his voice breaking as the crimson light flared brighter. And because I won't let it take you. The chamber thundered again. The sarcophagus cracked open another inch. A shadow spilled out, a crawling, seeping darkness that moved like smoke and blood at once. It coiled along the floor, whispering in 1,000 voices. Free, free at last. The Watchers moved again, their crimson flames reigniting. This time, they did not strike the intruders. They bowed. Every statue dropped to one knee, their heads bent toward the sarcophagus. Their voices boomed in unison, chanting a language older than stone. Irinder's face turned white. They're welcoming it. Gods help us. The shadow grew, twisting upward, forming shapes that almost resembled a figure, limbs too long, a face without eyes. It wasn't fully awake yet, but even half-formed its presence suffocated the chamber. Veros staggered back, clutching his chest. I can't breathe. The dream was awakening. Kalen forced himself to his feet, the crown blazing like a sun. I can hold it back, he rasped. But not forever. When the sarcophagus opens completely, I'll be gone. You have to be ready to finish this. No, Leora snapped, tears streaking her dust-covered face. Don't you dare make me watch you die. Kalen's hand touched her cheek, gentle, even as his fingers trembled. Leora, you've always been stronger than me. Stronger than all of us. But this is my burden. My oath. Her dagger clattered to the floor. She grabbed his wrist with both hands, shaking her head violently. Then let me share it. Please. Don't make me live in a world without you. For a moment, Kalen faltered. His human eyes flickered beneath the crimson glow. His lips parted as though to answer, but the crown screamed. A shriek tore through the chamber, a psychic howl that sent all three of his companions sprawling to the floor. Kalen fell to his knees, clutching his head as crimson fire burst from his eyes and mouth. You are mine, the crown's voice roared within him. You will chain the dream, and in doing so you will be chained for eternity. You will kneel, as the emperors before you knelt. You will serve. Kalen howled, his body twisting as if caught between two worlds. And then, suddenly, another voice cut through. Leora's. She had grabbed his face, forcing his burning eyes to meet hers. Her voice broke but did not waver. You don't serve anyone, Kalen. Not the crown. Not the dream. You're you. And you belong with us. The crown faltered. For the first time, the crimson fire dimmed. Kalen gasped, clutching her hands as the human part of him fought its way back. But the sarcophagus split wide open. The shadow poured forth in a torrent, filling the chamber, blotting out all light. The dream's form towered above them now, colossal and horrifying, its voice booming in ecstasy. At last, I am awake. The watchers bowed lower, their flames blazing. Irinder staggered up, shouting over the chaos. Kalen, choose now. If you're going to bind it, do it before it fully crosses into our world. Kalen's body shook, torn between collapse and impossible power. He looked at his friends, at Veros bleeding but unbroken, at Irinder clutching forbidden spells, at Leora still holding his face with all her defiance, and he knew. This was the moment. The decision no one could undo. He raised his sword, crimson fire blazing around it. His voice tore from his throat, half his own, half something ancient. Then I swear my oath, the chamber erupted. The chamber was chaos incarnate. The sarcophagus now lay shattered, its fragments glowing with unnatural light. From within, the dream's true essence spilled forth, not fully flesh, not fully spirit, but an amalgam of smoke, fire, and screaming faces that melted into one another. Its form was ever-shifting, one moment a towering figure with a crown of broken horns, the next a writhing mass of limbs that clawed at the air. Its voice was an endless chorus, thousands of whispers clawing at the minds of those present. I am free. I am hunger. I am eternity. The watchers chanted in unison, their stone voices like drums of war. The crimson flames in their hollow eyes flared brighter, until the entire hall pulsed red, like a heart beating with blood not of this world. Kalen staggered forward, the crown blazing hotter than molten steel, his body trembling under the strain. His sword trembled in his grip as he raised it toward the dream. I swear, my oath, he whispered, voice cracked but resolute. You will not consume this world. Not while I breathe. Leora clutched his arm, shaking him violently. Kalen, don't do this alone. Let me help you. But Kalen pushed her back, his eyes wet with pain. If I falter, you'll be next. I won't damn you, Leora. Not you. The dream's laughter rattled the marble foundations. Oaths are ash before me. I devour promises as I devour men. What are you, little bearer of stone, but another ember to snuff? Its shadow stretched, tendrils reaching across the chamber. One coiled toward Veros, wrapping around his shield, bending the iron as if it were wax. Veros roared, bracing himself, but blood sprayed from his mouth as the pressure crushed his chest. "Go," he screamed at Kaelin. "Do what you must. Don't waste my pain." Another tendril lashed at Arinder, knocking the mage into the wall. His scrolls scattered like fallen leaves, one of them igniting into blue flame. He scrambled desperately, chanting counterspells, but the shadow's whispers invaded his mind, drowning his voice in doubt. Kaelin saw his companions faltering, breaking under the weight of the dream's awakening. His knees buckled, but he drove his sword into the marble floor to keep from collapsing. The crown pulsed. And then he felt it, the presence of all the past bearers. Emperors long turned to dust, warriors broken, dreamers enslaved. Their voices cried out in unison, screams of agony, howls of regret. "Join us, Kaelin. The chain cannot be broken. You are ours." Kaelin clutched his skull, the cacophony tearing him apart from within. His veins glowed red as though fire ran beneath his skin. "No," his voice was a ragged whisper. "I am not yours." The dream's shadow loomed taller, blotting out the last of the chamber's light. "You are mine." And then, Kaelin's sword flared. For a moment, the crimson light fought back the shadow, sending it writhing. The watchers paused mid-chant, their movements faltering as if they too felt the sting. Arinder shouted over the roar, his eyes wild. "Now, Kaelin. Channel it. Finish the binding before it devours you." Kaelin raised the sword high, the crown's fire funneling through his body. His voice rang through the collapsing hall, strong despite the pain. "By blood, by stone, by every oath broken before me, I bind you, dream." The floor split, runes etched into the marble igniting in crimson flame. Chains of light erupted, coiling upward, striking at the dream's form. The shadow screamed, the thousands of voices twisting into a single shriek that shook the chamber. The chains wrapped tighter, dragging the dream down. The watchers roared in protest, their stone bodies cracking as they resisted, some shattering under the strain. Kaelin's body convulsed, blood streaming from his nose and eyes. His soul felt as though it were being ripped from him and welded into the chains. He could hear them breaking him apart. "Kaelin!" Leora screamed, sprinting toward him. "Stay back," he roared, his voice raw with pain. "I can't hold it if you're near." But Leora didn't stop. She grabbed his hand, the crimson fire burning her skin, and pressed her forehead to his. "Then let me break with you." For the first time, the crown hesitated. It pulsed with rage, whispering, "Reject her. She will damn you both." But Kaelin's grip tightened around her hand. His voice was barely audible. "Then we'll damn it together." The runes flared brighter. The chains surged, striking deeper into the dream's essence. The shadow convulsed, writhing, screaming as it was dragged back toward the broken sarcophagus. The watchers screamed too, their forms crumbling, shattering into dust as their master was bound. One by one they fell, the crimson flames snuffing out in their hollow eyes. Arinder shouted words of power, reinforcing the spell, his voice bleeding as the forbidden magic ate at him. Veros, barely standing, drove his broken shield into the ground and added his strength to the ritual, bellowing a war cry that echoed like thunder. The dream shrieked, clawing at the walls, tearing through stone and light alike. The chamber cracked, the ceiling raining marble fragments. And then, with a deafening roar, the chains sealed. The dream was dragged screaming into the sarcophagus, its form splintering into 1,000 shards of shadow. The lid slammed shut, runes blazing across its surface. The hall fell silent. Kaelin collapsed, the crown dimming to a faint glow. Smoke curled from his body. His chest barely rose with each shallow breath. Leora caught him before he hit the ground, cradling him in her arms. Her hands trembled as she touched his scorched skin. "Kaelin, stay with me. Please." His lips curved into the faintest of smiles. "We did it." But his eyes were dimming, his voice fading. "Leora, if I don't—" "No," she shook her head violently, tears streaming. "You don't get to leave me. Not like this. Not after everything." Arinder stumbled forward, his robes torn, his face pale. "The binding is incomplete." They all turned to him, horror dawning. "What do you mean?"